right, welcome back once again for another Wednesday One Shot. I am Curtis. I do not have Jesse with me, but I do have a great consolation prize. I got Anthony Osceola, the Toy Forge. Anthony, how you doing today?
Hey, buddy. How are you? I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous.
Awesome.
I see you got your Batman shirt on. I got my Superman shirt on.
I saw that. Pretty cool.
We're ready. Because today we are talking about the McFarlane Super Powers line. So this has been out for a little over a year now. They've had a few waves through it. And we're both collecting that line. So we're just going to kind of talk about what our thoughts are on it. For those of you that haven't seen these Wednesday One Shots before, this is really just kind of a recommendation video. It's always going to be stuff that we like, that we're recommending. So don't expect us to be, bashing this or anything throughout the next 15 minutes or so. We're really just going to be talking about what we like about it. So, and if it's something you enjoy too, hopefully you'll enjoy this conversation. And if it's something you haven't tried out, maybe we'll convince you to. So, starting out, I know that we're both collecting this line, and I know I collected it as a kid. I'm guessing that you did as well.
Yeah. Correct? So the Super Powers and actually the Marvel Secret Wars were my introduction into comic books. So without those two lines, I kind of wouldn't be into the whole genre altogether. I mean so when we were growing up, if we were sick or whatever, mom would go to the doctors, you go to the pharmacy, she'd pick up your prescription, and on the way out, there'd be the little toy aisle, and there hanging would be, there would be the Secret War Captain America, or there'd be a superpower Batman or whatever. So she'd grab one of those. So you take your medicine, you feel better, whatever, and then you'd open up your toy and you play with it. So we had a lot of those growing up, just between myself and my brothers, and then just the collection just kind of grew from there. It was a short run. So Super Powers only ran, I believe, from like 84 to 86. And there was a few waves that came out and a few vehicles and play sets, but they really packed a lot in there back then. So when they announced this and the size, the 1/18 scale, the nostalgia feels really, really, hit me hard. And I just knew I had to get some of these. I'm not in it to get all of them. I'm collecting the ones that I want to get. I do like that there's ones that we never got as kids, like the Nightwing ones, and the variations of it have been really cool. So it's kind of where I'm at with it right now. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the only lines that I almost completed as a kid. Like a lot of lines, we would have a couple figures here, a couple figures there. Super Powers, when I was a kid, was the one that I had every single figure. I had, several of the vehicles, the Hall of Justice. So, I mean, it was probably the biggest line that I collected as a kid. And so, yeah, I absolutely loved it. And so when I saw these, the one thing that we should say is that, like, they're not exact. They're not the exact same thing as when we were kids. They've removed the action features from them, which as a kid I thought was always really cool. But for nostalgia purposes, I really just want the look. Like, I want to be able to, get it on my shelf and have the look. And I'm the same as you on this McFarlane version of it. I'm not collecting everything, but I'm collecting a lot of the ones that I see that remind me of the ones I had as a kid. And then there's some other ones that I'm like, oh, I didn't have that, but that's cool. That I'm grabbing as well. So I did bring one of them just because it's been sitting on my desk for a while, just because I just like messing around with it. It's the Green Lantern. There you go. I mean,
I'm going to go hard and collect the entire core when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those figures that definitely hits me in the nostalgia. I was like, I had to get that. And it was they had the first wave that they put out. It was like they were doing their own take on it, where they were kind of changing up the characters a bit, and it really didn't look a lot like the figures that we collected. And then it seems like they kind of pivoted and changed, and because like from wave 2 on, it seems like it's been a lot of, even if it's not the figures that we had as a kid, it's a lot of the same style of the figures that we had as kids. So
I like the so I have actually one of the original Kenner Superman
Yep.
You know, it has I think the action gimmick has finally broken over time, but you know, it had the punch and everything like that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, as a kid, the gimmick was cool, but as an adult, I don't want that. I want my figures to, you know, if I want to put Superman in that flight pose and just hold it and make it work from there.
Yeah.
Um, but like I also have the Nightwing character. Like
Mm-hmm.
we never would have gotten a Nightwing character. We got the
Right.
one Dick Grayson in the trunks, the short trunks, and that was it.
Right.
We've gotten a few versions of Robin already. We've gotten a few versions of the Batman costumes. We're going to get the Green Lantern Corps. We've seen a few versions of Superman and Wonder Woman. The Aquaman, I'm kind of hoping we get the version of the 84 where we get the short hair instead of the long hair one. So
Yeah.
they're really putting out, and their vehicles, they're not afraid to put some of the vehicles out there. And I think the one, this is the Brainiac crawler or whatever it is that just came out. That's something that they wanted to put out that they're able to do now.
I didn't know
really,
that. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, we got an invisible jet. Like,
Right.
that's awesome. Like, you never could have gotten away with that back then because with it being very boy driven as a toy line back then, you weren't going to get that a big market for the girls to get that stuff. But now, as an adult, like the guys want to get, or just collectors in general, want to have all of that, you know, and it's a much more diverse market of collectors. So you're able to do some of that stuff you couldn't do that. So we're going to get, you know, the invisible jet and we got the Batcopter and the Batmobile. Now, for me, the Superpowers, the original Superpowers Batmobile is the Batmobile I first saw. So that is the Batmobile for me. Like when I close my eyes and dream of the Batmobile, that's the one that pops up.
Same.
It's not the Michael Keaton one. It's not it's not even the Adam West one. That's the one that comes to mind. And what's funny, I've never owned it. Always wanted it.
Oh, really?
I've always wanted it. And the new one is out. Is kind of cool. It's not quite it, but I'll have to get that. And I'm kind of hoping we get the short trunks Robin eventually in the line. But I know I think we've got the Tim Drake and the Jason Todd versions that are out now. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun to just collect them and put them in a dynamic pose and just kind of put them up on a display and just kind of let them just, you know, hit you on in the nostalgia feels.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying about like the Batmobile, like 100% for me. I mean, there's been a lot of great Batmobiles, but that's the one for me that, like you said, when you close your eyes, that's when you picture, not only because of the Superpowers line, but you know, they did a lot of tie-ins back then with the Super Friends cartoon, and then they did they did a lot of crossovers with Scooby-Doo. And anytime that you saw the Batmobile on those shows, it was always that same version that we got in the Superpowers. So yeah, I mean, I have nothing against the vehicles that they're making now, but yeah, if they put out one that was more like the vintage one, I'd be all over it.
Exactly.
But another thing that I really like about this line is the price point is, man, it's right where it needs to be. I mean, you know, $9.99 for these figures that's beautiful. A lot of these you know, action figures that we did, you know, had as kids, if they were a $5 action figure then, and then they kind of remake it or whatever, you end up spending like $20. So $10 for one of these is a great price point. And I love the packaging too. Like
yeah. How hard do you struggle with sometimes wanting to get two of them so you could just, you know, to quote a word that someone uses, appreciate the card art. I mean, that Green Lantern stayed in its box for a while because the card art on it was just so beautiful. It just reminded me of the original figures, the way that they were packaged and everything. And finally, I was like, he has to get out of his plastic prison. I've got to let him breathe. And they could do a book, like a coffee table book of just the art of these things, and I would pick that one up.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I feel like very much, you know, different strokes for different folks. Everybody has their own thing that they're into, and I could pretty much appreciate any choices that people make in life. But I've never been a fan of box collectors. Inbox collectors are just the worst. Like how do you keep that stuff in box? And I've even heard a lot of them, say like, one to open, one to keep in box. And I've
Yeah.
never abided by that philosophy, except for this line. This line is the one that
Yeah.
like there's several of them that I haven't opened. I've just left in box. And the ones that I'm like, I've got to get my hands on it, like the Green Lantern, I buy two.
Yeah.
And for the price point, it's not like it hurts, I
No,
mean,
no. For you're getting two for what you would pay for a Black Series or a Marvel Legend or a McFarlane regular size figure.
right. Yeah. And I mean, depending on where you get it, I mean, if you pick it up in the store, obviously you're not paying shipping. I usually will get mine through Amazon, and I'm
Mhm.
a Prime member, so I'm not paying any shipping or anything on it. So it really truly is just $9.99.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you can't beat it. So yeah, I think they're doing a fabulous job. I think that it's very telling that after those first few figures that came out, they listened to feedback and they kind of pivoted a little bit. And I think it's really paying dividends. And
Yeah.
that's just cool for any company to do, much less a big company like McFarlane, to actually listen to the fans and try to give them what they want. And yeah, I mean, I'm all over this line. We got a few minutes left. I want to talk about
Sure.
like figures that either we had or wanted to have as kids that we're hoping that they come out with. Because I know I've got a couple. What's on your list? What's on your short
So
list?
I figure we're probably both thinking that the Lex Luthor power suit
Absolutely.
has got to be on the list, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, I would like to see the Penguin. I would like to see the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Green Arrow was one that I liked as a kid.
Yep. That's actually the top of my list.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
number one on my list.
I had Green Arrow as a kid. I
Mm-hmm.
remember playing with him upstairs in the attic,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember losing him, and I couldn't find him ever again.
Oh, man.
And I remember, I still to this day when I go upstairs and doing whatever, I always into my parents' house. I'll root around. I'll try to see maybe he'll just turn up somewhere. And he's just gone somewhere in the insulation for eternity.
Yeah, for me with him, like he had that really bright, almost like semi-translucent era bow, and it was like it just was so cool. There's something about just the way it looked. I had no idea about the character before. I wasn't into comics and all this kind of stuff, so I didn't even know who the character was. But just something about the look of him with that bow, I was like, yeah, I'm all over it. So,
but I think that the top of my list is probably Hawkman.
Oh yeah.
If I get Hawkman with this would be it for me.
Yeah, they did McFarlane did a Hawkman for the multiverse line that they did not too long ago, and they had a variant of it that looked very much like the Super Powers one in terms of colors and stuff. So I had to get that one. I was like, it's funny because they do this thing on the multiverse line where if you buy from their online store for the regular version, then they do like this drawing for the platinum version, and you get an increased chance of getting your name drawn for that.
Okay.
So I bought the regular one that I had no interest in, just so I had an increased chance to get the platinum one, and I ended up getting it. So that worked out well.
So for me, I'm a diehard Marvel guy. Like DC is not really my jam at all. I don't read the comics. I mean, I'm familiar with all of it, but given the choice, it's always Marvel over DC, including the toys. But these superpowers are the one exception to that rule. I'll buy Marvel Legends. I'll buy the multiverse stuff for fodder for Mythic Legions. But these I'm buying because they remind me of a kid sitting on my floor in my room, integrating, the superpowers and the Silver Hawks and the Secret Wars and your G.I. Joes and all that together, and just having, just letting your imagination run wild.
See, it's funny because I was the exact opposite. Like growing up, I was a DC guy. I like until the MCU, I never was into Marvel really at all. The one exception was Secret Wars. So for me, like I'm the opposite. Like when I see like Marvel Legends at the store, I may buy them for fodder and stuff, but I'm not putting them into my collection really for the most part. But when it comes to the Secret War stuff, I love the Secret Wars. So
Yeah.
so it's kind of cool that those are the two lines that as kids, from a comic book perspective, are the ones that really stick with us. So yeah, that's cool. So any closing thoughts on this? I know we're already over the 15 minutes, but any other thoughts that you'd share with anybody that's thinking about getting this line?
No, I mean, it's still early enough to where you can get in. I mean, some of uh, the first wave stuff you might be able to find on clearance. Some of the more exclusive stuff is starting to become a little bit rarer and more exclusive. I am seeing some more sellouts. So just jump in, grab a few, pick what you like. If you're a Batman guy, just get Batman stuff. You're a bad guy fan, just get the bad guys and just kind of go from there and join along with the rest of us. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, and I would say for my closing thoughts is that I mean, these are not 6-7 inch figures. These are smaller figures. They look amazing. They're great desk figures. If you've got a workspace or a computer that you've got stuff and you just want something at your desk to kind of mess around with during downtime between meetings or whatever you got going on, these things make great desk figures. So just FYI. So all right. Well, Anthony, that is it for our time, but I appreciate you joining me, and everybody go out and check out the McFarlane Super Powers line because it's spectacular and the price point is amazing. The packaging is beautiful. So check it out. And thanks for watching our Wednesday one shot. See you next time.
Take care, everyone.